Good evening and a very warm welcome to you wherever you may be. Thank you for joining us here on the Oz Cro Soccer Show. It is episode 26 of our very, very first inaugural season, and it's a very good evening to you all. My name is Tonchi Prusac, and joining me as he does week in, week out, Josip Zilic. Josipe, good evening to you. How are you?
Good evening, Tonch, and good evening to our fans and viewers out there. Going well, mate. It's just been a nice start to the week, so I'm looking forward to tonight's episode. And it's been a good weekend of football overall. I mean, there's been some highs, been some lows, and I'm looking forward to going through the latest updates and news around the country.
Absolutely. A lot has been happening. Now, tonight we've got a massive, massive show. As always the case, there's so much happening both here and overseas. We're going to go into that very, very much so. But there's been a slight alteration to that, what we announced earlier today. Josip, tell us a little bit about who our guests are, or probably more so who our guests aren't.
Yeah. Look, we had promoted that we will be having the former Melbourne Croatia dashing winger, Joe Chaletta, and the current head coach of Sydney United on the show tonight. But unfortunately, MIRO has taken ill, and he's been kind enough to still join us on the show a little later on, around that 9 o'clock mark later on tonight. But his able assistant, Joey, is taken on the reins at coaching the boys in preparation for their big clash tomorrow against Monaro Panthers in the Australia Cup. So the show must go on, and
Absolutely.
Miro's doing his bit to make sure that the fans and our viewers get the latest and greatest news about what's going on, and Joey's doing his best to make sure the boys are prepped for their performance.
Under the circumstances, all is forgiven. All is forgiven. We totally understand that. After all, there are a few things, not too many, more important than the Oz Cro Soccer Show podcast. But tomorrow night, the Australia Cup round of 32 clash between Sydney United and the Monaro Panthers from the ACT NPL competition. Question, is Monaro, are they in Queanbeyan? Does that mean that they're actually New South Wales and not ACT, or how does that work? I don't know. If anyone out there knows.
I think our loyal viewers, especially our Canberra-based viewers, will be able to give us the rundown on that. It's quite possible.
Is this an ACT versus New South Wales clash? Is this an all New South Wales clash? Let us in on that. Tomorrow, the big game, Sydney United Sports Centre. Kickoff there is, I think, 7:45 p.m. or something. 7:30 p.m., by the way. Ticket prices there. Adults, $15, concession, $10, children under 12 free. There will be a limited amount of tickets available at the door, so do try and get in early. Buy your tickets online if you can. That would be the preferred method. And secure your tickets. It should be a big, big thing. Look, Sydney United, Sydney Croatia, call them however you want to call them, the only Croatian community-backed club in the final 32. So we're getting behind, and that's why we're airing tonight and not tomorrow night. And we're hoping everyone can tune into the live stream on 10 Play. If you're from Sydney, though, Josipe, better yet, get yourself down to the
book yourself večera at Luce Mala. You'll have a great meal over there. If not, I'm sure the Chavapi rolls will be flying thick and fast out the window. So, yeah, get down there and make a real atmosphere and make it difficult for Monaro Panthers.
100%. Well, we will be talking to MIRO VLASTELICA. He's the courageous Coach Courageous, Captain Courageous. I don't know how it works. He'll be joining us despite the fact that he's not feeling the best. But we're going to make him feel a lot better when we show all of the support Australia-wide and no doubt internationally for Sydney United in their big clash tomorrow. Now, I'm speaking of support. We do need we are seeking sponsors for the Oz Cro Soccer Show. If your club would like to sponsor an episode of the Oz Cro Soccer Show and be featured in our Club in Focus segment, I would love to feature you, especially now as we're approaching the end of the season. It would be an awesome opportunity for your club to almost do sort of like a year that was, and you know, an assessment of the 2022 season. If your business would like to jump on board and advertise in our weekly show, or you'd just like to become a member of the show and help us achieve what we are trying to do, even if it's just to send a kind-hearted donation our way. It's email us at ozcrosoccershow@gmail.com, or if you know Josip or myself personally, give us a buzz, get in touch with us as well. We would love to be able to be in a position to air every week, or to stream every week, right up until the Qatar World Cup. And before you know it, Josip, that'll be right on our doorstep, Qatar 2022.
Yeah, that's right. And there'll be lots of exciting news coming in the lead up to that as well. And speaking of that question you had before, Tunchi, the New South Wales ACT things, thanks to Stephen Pushkaric, New South Wales v ACT, Monaro Panthers, formerly into Monaro NSL. So, and look, Monaro does play in the Canberra MPL, the ACT MPL. So we'll call it territory v state. Yeah.
Yep, that's it. Thank you very much for that.
Thanks, Stephen.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, we're going to be back very, very shortly. Josip, you're going to get yourself ready for the first part of the Australian Croatian roundup. Lots happening tonight. I think we've got a record number of slides to get through. So I'll get myself ready. We'll be back with you very, very shortly, folks. It's episode 26 of the Oz Cro Soccer Show. Don't go away.
Welcome
okay, Josip, over to you, mate.
Welcome back, viewers, and episodes 26 Oz Cro Wrap. We'll start off in Victoria tonight, please, 20. Melbourne Knights. They had a really arduous and resilient performance with Oakley on last Friday night. It won't be one that will come down in the annals of history where people will say, "Well, what a classic that was." But they went down 3-1. But I think the aspects that I liked out of the game was that it was entertaining, it was vibrant. And you can see a real vigor about the boys to do a work rate for the night, and the work rate was high throughout their effort. So that was good to see. It was a delight to see. Okay, the score didn't work out, going down 3-1, but I guess they're going to have lots to learn between now and the end of the season as they review what they're going to be doing with their coaching lineup and how they go forward for 2023 as well. Yeah. They've got a catch-up round this week, Tunch, against Green Gully. There's a couple of
Friday night
catch-up games going on Friday night at home, so we do expect the fans to get out there and support the Knights as they wrap up the season with a couple of games to go after the Gully match as well. The women's team, they went down 2-1 to Galaxy. The week off for them in the catch-up to close out the season with the match away after the catch-up against Melbourne Uni, and I think that will mean that they'll wrap up the season at third last.
Yeah, I don't think there's any relegation in VPLW this year, if I'm not mistaken. So they are assured. Yeah, there's only promotion. Yeah, I think the top 3 or top 4 teams, in fact, but it doesn't affect the Melbourne Knights, unfortunately. But nonetheless,
fortunately, shouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, fortunately, unfortunately, it doesn't. I guess promotion doesn't affect them, unfortunately, but relegation, fortunately, doesn't affect them either. Now, moving along to Dandenong City, and
wow, what a result this was. I think they blew Avondale off the park, mate. 3-1 win over Avondale. I think Avondale must have really remained on the deck after being knocked out last week, losing the title from the longest ever 2021 title race.
Yeah.
With that weird, dumbass resolution they come up with where results from last year counted into this year, and Oakley ended up champion, so congratulations to Oakley. But no better team in the league to lose than Avondale, I say, anyway. Well done to Dandy, and it was great to see the fans and coaching staff looking delighted on the sidelines throughout that game. Tommy Semis wrapped it up perfectly with the goal. See his second goal, where he zigzagged through the midfield, Maradona-esque, and then finished beautifully. And it was fantastic to see. And look, they've drawn level with Hume City on 20 points apiece. Goal difference is the big difference now at the moment for them. So, look, anything can happen at this point in time. With a couple of games to go this week, they face they have the week away, but then this they don't have the week away. This week they're facing South Melbourne, I believe.
Is that right, in the catch-up game, is it?
Yeah, I'll have to check that one. But anyway, they
Yeah,
do have
yeah.
South Melbourne next. I might
Yeah.
have botched that one
Now,
up.
I think we know. I think we've got the recipe for success for Dandenong City. Last week we had George Sabjak there, the editor of the
Hmm.
Croatian Herald, whose home club is Dandenong City, came on the show, and we seem to be doing this a lot, isn't it? We get these guests, and then the following week their team does really well, or
Yep.
we've mentioned something about them in the show, and they do really well. Look, you know what? Whatever it takes, let's keep Dandenong City up in the NPL competition, because as you're going to mention a little bit later on, it's looking good that North Geelong will be joining them next
Yeah.
year. So we could have 4, which is unprecedented. In fact, that would mean there are more Croatian clubs in the Victorian NPL than even in the BH Premier League. So
Victoria, the new BH.
Oh no, that means Marmich is going to be coming down here. Oh no.
Hey, that's
Oh,
not a bad thing, really. Come on.
it's bad enough having Daniel Andrews. Maybe actually Marmich might be going up against Andrews in the state election later this year.
He'll win.
The new
Landslide.
the new Liberal candidate. Anyway, on to
Let's go on
smarter
to
things.
St Albans, mate.
On to St Albans.
St Albans. Look, another agonising one for St Albans. They're either copping an early goal within the first 10 minutes or they're copping a late one.
Yeah.
They're just going to, and it's a careful situation for St Albans now. There was a period there where you probably thought they've done enough to stay, but with the results going with Hume the previous week and Dandy this week, it looks like it's going to be a scrap. And St Albans have to be really careful here. I know they've got a catch-up game this Friday night at home against Eastern Lions, but after that they've got a couple of tough ones where they really got to stay on their toes. So, looking for the right result against Eastern Lions on Friday night so that they can avoid the scrappy last 2 weeks. So, come on, Dinamo, you can do it. The women's team had a solid 2-0 win over Ballarat in catch-up action this week. They take on Brunswick City on Friday night. So it's a lot of action at both Melbourne Knights and St Albans and Strathmore on Friday night too. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, Strathmore, we'll get to that as well. So it's a huge night of Friday night football in Victoria. But before we get to Strathmore, let's take a look at NPL 2 action and North Geelong. Let's have a look at North Geelong.
Yeah, look, North Geelong started strongly in this game, Tonch, and I know that you were there and in your article in the Geelong Advertiser. You mentioned how the opening stanza was all North Geelong, and they were able to really take control of until that sort of unfortunate incident where Hamish gave away a penalty. It gave Kingston a breath of life. And then they spent the rest of that second half playing a really frustrated-looking game. You made mention in your show last night, in the Geelong Soccer Show, mate, where the players looked a bit full-on and worn out and collapsing on the floor after the game.
Oh, look, by the end of it, I don't know if it was the mental strain or the physical strain. There were 4 or 5 players, they just basically collapsed. It was like they had just gone extra time and everything like that. And look, it took a big toll on them. A lot of them are very, very young players. The expectations are massive down Elcho Parkway. The ground was not the best. The coaching
this time
staff
of year it always is that way. Yeah,
they were losing their absolute everything. And look, Kingston were just, through caution to the wind, they had nothing to lose. But I think this is the reason why the players were probably a bit scared, I reckon, maybe. Watch this. Here's exclusive footage of an unwanted
I just want to
streaker.
put a shout out to a former assistant coach at North Geelong, Scotty Dixon. If you're watching, look away.
Look away. Yeah, absolutely. James Coots, though, if you're up on the Gold Coast and you're tuning in, start laughing. Watch. This is what happened on Saturday. Now, for those of you not familiar, it's the killer plover. Around about this time every year, this plover, who I think lives on the roof of the North Geelong Warriors grandstand there, comes out to play, and there is some awesome footage you'll see there I think it's on the Geelong Region Soccer Show. So if you go on the Geelong Region Soccer News Facebook page, folks, the post was made today. And actually, you probably popped that footage.
It was
Unfortunately,
Coetzee. It was Coetzee, yeah, former
Coetzee,
head
was it?
coach of North
Where
Geelong. And
one of the funniest videos. Explain that video, Josip. It's hilarious.
assistant coach Scotty Dixon was setting up the drill, and Coetzee had him out there, and he's looked across from his office window and looked out into the park, and he can see Dicko ducking and weaving, and he's thinking, "What the hell's going on?" So he started filming him, and he realised the plover was swooping him. So I said to Coetzee at the time, I go, "It's the best warm up drill I've ever seen."
Yeah, absolutely. Do yourself a favour, folks. Geelong Region Soccer News Facebook page. Not now, obviously after the show. Go there. It's a post that was done today. That footage has been posted up there. And you'll see in the comments section some vintage archival footage. Taken only about 3 years ago. But it is absolutely class. Mate, getting back to what happened on the field with the women.
They got their 2-1 win in the end and keeps them in top spot with a 2-point lead over Moreland City. And they face Bulleen in a fortnight, but this being a catch-up round. So it's tightening up at the top four there. You've got Juve with a game in hand this week. Pasco beat Bulleen Monday night. I think there's 5 points between third and first. It's going to be a real tight tussle towards the end. And North's got a couple of hard ones. They've got Bulleen to play, who's now going to finish around mid-table. And then they've got Moreland City themselves, who's in second place. So, look, and there's big challenges ahead, but I think they're up for the fight. So, good on your North in the win. And the women's team, a nice 4-2 win over Elwood City there. They too experienced a little bit of plover action, according to my wife watching the women's game on Sunday. So look at that. But 4-2 puts them in fourth spot, and they take on Spring Hills after the week off.
Yeah. So they'll be just outside the top three. I think they'll be finishing the season more likely the fifth spot. Which the top three in State League One get promoted to next season's VPLW competition, where the Melbourne Knights are. It's a shame they couldn't make it in the top three, and they would have had a city derby against Galaxy United, Geelong Galaxy United, but also the big Croatian derby against the Melbourne Knights. Not to worry, I'm sure that will happen in years to come. But now moving along to Strathmore. Sorry, mate.
It's one of those situations where you say, we don't know what will happen to the team when you put them into an environment like Div 1 from Div 3 because of the way the FV asked for another team to jump up who had a reserve setup. And they've responded, I reckon, above expectations in my opinion. So they've done really well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Incredible achievement. On to Strathmore. Strathmore split.
Look, the men's team had one to forget, I think, a 4-1 loss away to Croatia. They have catch-up action this week. They play the newly promoted and the new champions, Caroline Springs George Cross, at home on Friday night. According to all reports, the lights are ready, the ground's ready, and the kitchen and fridges are full. So they're going to get a nice give George's a really nice Strathmore welcome on Friday night. But their battle for survival is alive. I mean, look, bottom spot drops out only, but they still have to make sure that they get another point or two in the next 3 games just to make things a bit more comfortable. But the women's team had a nice, handy win, something they haven't done too often this year, with a 3-1 win over Epping City. So well done to the Strathmore women there too. The Metro 2 team had a 5-3 win over North Sunshine, and Masters game, the sexy football Masters, had washed out.
Oh, well, there you go. On to Canberra, where it certainly wasn't washed out.
Just before we go to Canberra, Tunch, I know I didn't fit this in when I sent it over, but Gorspitch Div 2, they won 4-3 over Altona after being down 3-1 at one stage, and the Masters won 3-0 over Westside Strikers.
Okay,
brilliant. So, over to the nation's capital, mate. Canberra, Croatia keep doing what they do best, mate. They just keep rolling along. Look at those results, mate. The Canberra Croatian women's team, they're a really impressive unit, taking on Canberra United, who we know is the A-League women's comp, and that's their MPL outfit. They keep their top spot, and they're going to have Wagga Wagga visit them at home. And I think last time they played Wagga Wagga, it was like 12 or 16-0 or something like that. So, I think it's going to be another one of those situations for the women's team on the weekend. The men's team, a 5-1 shellacking over Canberra Olympic. During the week, Canberra Olympic were posting comments, something along the lines of, we're ready for them. And I think they're still getting themselves together.
Necker. Oh, good stuff.
Top spot well and truly in the hands of Canberra, Croatia, and they take on Cooma Tigers this week. Over to down the road to O'Connor, mate. O'Connor Knights women's team continuing their good form, a 4-1 win over the ANU. Keeping third spot at the minute, playing Bell West Foxes this week. And the men's team, an unfortunate 1-0 loss to West Canberra Wanderers. It seemed to be a bit of a bogey team for O'Connor Knights this year. But nonetheless, they still have a full spot in their hands, and they're going to be facing Canberra Olympic this week.
All right, well, that brings us to the end of the first part of the Oz Cro Roundup. Stay tuned. We're going to come back with the second part, and then we've got the Croatian League as well and the Bihar League as well. Lots to get through, lots of news, lots of interesting exclusive news as well. But on top of that, also we'll be talking to MIRO VLASTELICA, the coach of Sydney United, on the eve of their big return to the national stage when they take on Monaro Panthers at Sydney United Sports Centre tomorrow night in the round of 32 Australia Cup. Don't go away, folks. We'll be back very shortly. That's right, the Football Outwear Show, one of our sister programs. If you are following Victorian football, tune in every Sunday night from 7 p.m. Craig, Steve and myself will bring you up to date with all the latest happenings in Victorian football. That's the Football Outwear Show. But we are the Oz Cro Soccer Show. Let's move on to, well, the club that we're featuring on tonight, Sydney United. How did they go on the weekend in their final round?
Look, just before I do jump into Sydney United, mate, a nice comment there from Tony Chavard. I think he's on the money. If Marmich was premier, NK Bunker would be in the A-League. I think he's right.
yeah, they'll be selling players for 10 million euros without a doubt.
Yeah.
Goodness me.
Good stuff. Sydney United, they finished their home and away strongly with a 3-1 win over Apia, effectively knocking Apia out of a potential appearance in the finals race. So well done to Sydney United and a strong finish in your season. We will hear from Miro VLASTELICA just a little later on, probably in about 10 or 15 minutes or so. And we'll talk more in depth about the Oz Cup match, plus their upcoming Waratah Cup match. It's a lot of action going on for Sydney United. Home and away might be over, but there's still plenty to come their way. We'll jump over to Hurstville, Tonch. They too wrapped up their home and away as the next week is the actual end of season for NPL 3 in New South Wales. But they have a bye on their last round. So their last game at home was a draw against Nepean. Don't know if you got that slide there, mate.
No, I haven't for some reason. I'm trying to locate it, and I can't seem to find it. I don't know why. My apologies.
Right, anyway, we thank Hurstville for their contribution to us this year as well, and just take note that, okay, their home and away might be done, but I'm sure they'll be ramping up their 8 teams that are entering the Kingston Croatia tournament coming up in September, October, and what a phenomenal effort from that club. Well done, Hurstville, on a great year. Over to the Hunter, mate. Newcastle All Age. This Friday night, they take on University on a Friday night game at home. The Div 3, the action starts to heat up a bit more for them. They take on Hamilton Azuri this week after a 4-0 win over Curry last week. The last couple of times they played Hamilton Azuri have been really tight, close affairs. Hamilton have been kind enough to revert the game to their ground at Monaro Park. A lot more parking facilities, and I think just the access and accessibility and the ground condition at Pasadena might be a little bit worse for wear. So a good decision has come around, and there'll be a lot of excitement and activity going on the sidelines there. So call out to all the Newcastle fans to get out there and make life difficult for the Azzurri.
Now, speaking of Newcastle fans, they don't come bigger than this. Popular Sydney Croatian band Prva Liga, have they signed on as number one ticket holders? I'm not too sure, but there's
Oh,
been a post during the week. There
I'd
we
like
go.
to think so. I'd like to think so. Well, look, Think Cafe and Bar and the committee at Newcastle Croatia have sent over their tops to them during a gig, and I think there was a wedding going on at the time. They've managed to put that on. special
Class
call out,
act.
special call out to my cousin's boy Nicky Andrić, the drummer there at Prva Liga.
There you go. It's music to our ears, say Newcastle, Croatia, and hearts to have the best Croatian band in the land, Prva Liga in our colours, and word has it, a first-grade debut by one of its members at Think Cafe and Bar sometime in November. Fantastic.
Ooh,
Well done, lads.
okay.
Looking and look at that. They're just that's passion, that's pride.
That's
That's what we want to see. That is exactly
great.
right.
They're a great
That's
band, aren't they? Really
Prva
good band.
Liga, absolutely, yeah. Fantastic, yeah. Good on you,
Fantastic.
good on him.
Yeah.
Now moving along,
Over to
we're moving.
to the other Steel City, over to South Coast United. They went
Mhm.
down 5-0, unfortunately, to Bulli. They're not in action this week. There's catch-up games occurring left, right, and centre in the Illawarra region. And because South Coast United has the artificial pitch, they've been able to keep up to date with their game so far. But a lot of the other the clubs are catching up. So, look, they have come off the bottom of the table, and they've still got a long way to go. And I think there's another eight or so matches. So there's still a chance for them to climb up a bit further. Dalmatia Sydney, they had a 3-3 draw with Northbridge, hanging on to second spot, and this Thursday night take on Knox United.
Now over to Tasmania, down at Glenorchy. What is going on down there?
Glenorchy, unfortunately, the Glenorchy men just couldn't get over the top of Devonport. They, as a result of their 1-0 loss to the Strikers, they've dropped to third, and they have this weekend off to probably lick their wounds and reflect on what's going on. I think this might be just about it. There's not that many games left, and Devonport Strikers have just hit form for the last 10 games, and I think they've dropped 1 game, or sorry, 1 point. 2 points out of 30, so 28 out of 30 they've collected along the way. So it's a bit hard to see them dropping more between now and the end of the season. The women's team had a 0-0 draw with South Hobart. They got a bye this week too. So yeah, it's got a lot of work to be done there for the Glenorchy men if they want to get top spot. But the Glenorchy women, I think they've done a remarkable job this year. Week in, week out, good, consistent performers, and they're still in the chance for that top spot as well. I think they're only like 4 points off top.
There you go. Some good news also happening in Adelaide. Adelaide Croatia Raiders, they did well on the weekend.
Didn't they, mate? They've just about locked in the top 6 playoff spot. I think I worked out they need another point. And they're safe in the last 3 games. So well done to a 5-2 win over Playford. Next week they take on Uni. And like I said, trying to lock in that top 6 playoff spot. The women, they take on Seymour this week after no match last week. And speaking of the women's team, Tonchi, Ella Tonkin, a former Adelaide Croatia junior, was selected for the under-20s Matildas, who have the under-20 World Cup, and they're taking on the likes of Costa Rica, Brazil, and Spain, which commences August 11th. So congratulations to Ella and to Adelaide Croatia as well. And speaking of the women, last week when we didn't, the week before we didn't have the show.
Yeah.
Second last Adelaide Raiders beat second team Mercedes Old Collegians 1-0. And they haven't been able to buy a win, the Adelaide Raiders women's team. So well done. It's fantastic.
That's brilliant.
Hopefully enough confidence to take them on to this week's game against Seymour. Over the Vukovi, they had the 4A had a 5-2 loss, and to Warriors, and 4B had a 1-0 win. And before we set away to WA, we want to wish Adelaide Croatia a happy 70th birthday. They celebrate this weekend, which will no doubt bring together all the beautiful people and memories, and in a special occasion for them to reflect on their foundations and their rise to prominence in South Australian football, and not to mention Australian football overall. I know they're setting sights for bigger and better things to come their way in 2023 and beyond. Živela Croatia, sretan vam 70. obljetnicu.
Happy birthday to Adelaide, Croatia, and we move over to WA to Guelph, Croatia.
Well, Croatia, 3-1 loss to Sterling, Macedonia. As a result, they do drop from second last to last now, and relegation is confirmed for them. Next week, they take on Armidale. The women's team also had a 1-0 loss to Uni WA, also on bottom spot as well, and they face North Beach next week. So looking for some strong form to finish their year out, and hopefully give them the confidence that they can rebuild for the following year and set sights for their goals, whatever they may be. Over to Western Knights, Tonchi. Unfortunately, a 2-0 loss for the Western Knights.
Oh, no, good. And that's the first placed Olympic, I think it was, yeah?
Yeah, first placed Olympic.
I don't have that slide, unfortunately, no.
No worries, okay. 2-0 loss to Olympic. They stay in second place, and now, after playing first place last week, this week they're playing third place, Freo. So the challenges keep coming at them thick and fast. And let's hope the guys can respond after that little blip on the radar after a stellar year so far, and just keep Freo at bay and keep themselves in that top 2 race for a chance at promotion, I guess.
Now, before we move on to elsewhere, Guelph, Croatia had their trivia night the other night. A lot of smart people there. We can see a photo there. What is great to see, a lot of younger people there. A lot of second generation, third generation. Great to see. The clubs, it's maybe not doing so well on the field this year, but certainly off the field, things are doing very well, and they are really getting some really good social events happening there at Guelph, Croatia. So well done to everyone involved.
Actually, a good point, Toncha. Often when clubs aren't having the greatest results in the park, it's easy to start speculating and saying, oh, maybe within it's not so great or anything like that. But you know what? You can't overlook what a community does for each other, and they stand by each other. And a reflection like this indicates that the community is strong there. And if to see that many young people involved in a bit of a fun night together, a bit of camaraderie, that's exactly what's needed.
Absolutely. All right, on to we've got to whiz through all this. With so much information, so much news. On to Brisbane and Brisbane Knights.
Brisbane Knights. Look, they've had a series of games where they've played teams in the top 4. Had a 3-3 draw against top place Logan. This week, the third place Brisbane Knights up against Ipswich. If they can win this game, with their game in hand, they'll actually be up there with a real promotion nudge to come out of FQPL 4 and into 3 next year. So they're currently holding third, and look, anything can happen. And I'm looking at the way they've been performing in the last 4 or 5 weeks, the trajectory is just up. So well done, Brisbane Knights. The women's team, they had a 3-0 win over Lions. The second place Knights will face Holland Park this week. Over to Gold Coast, a really disappointing and a frustrating game to watch in this one. It was it lacked the usual type of skill and finesse we've seen over Gold Coast Knights this year, but it was a 0-0 draw against the Brisbane Raw youth team. Look, they did have 3 or 4 regular starters out of the lineup. They gambled and put Janiel De Silva, he's a centre back, up as a target man. That didn't work. I guess this week they're playing Gold Coast United in the Gold Coast Derby, and it's going to be a real test for them. United have been picking up points, whilst Knights have been dropping points against lowly clubs. So time to pull up the socks and get on with the job, Knights, and win the Derby, because it's always important to have the bragging rights locally. In FQPL 4, the Gold Coast Knights had a 4-1 win over Musgrave. Taken this tonight, as we speak, Tonchi, they're probably at halfway through their match against second-placed Ormo at home. They have 4 games in hand, Tonch, right? This is what's happened over here in Goldie. Yeah. They've got 4 games in hand, but there's 8 points difference between them and top spot Tweed United. So you can imagine what can happen with the form they've been showing, the QPL4 guys. I think they've managed to draw one and win all the rest in the last 7 games. So Mark Vidakovic is doing a great job with the coaching crew there and getting the form right at this time of the year. And before we close out the Oz Cro wrap, just a quick mention to the under-17s Joey squad. They actually played tonight. They lost 3-2 to Myanmar, sometimes known as Burma. The couple of lads we want to, or three lads we want to call out to is Anthony Pavlicic and Nicholas Zdrilic, as well as Luka Kovany. And Luka Kovany actually scored for the Joeys tonight, but they did go down 3-2, unfortunately.
Nicholas Zdrilic there on the right-hand side from Sydney United. We'll actually ask MIRO VLASTELICA a little bit about that. Anthony Pavlicic, ex-Sydney United youth product, who I think is now at Wanderers or Sydney FC,
Wanderers.
One of those. Wanderers.
Yeah,
and Luka Kovany, the son of Vaughan Kovany, who came to came to Melbourne, Croatia from New Zealand back in the NSL days. I think he stayed one season, then moved on. But he loved it so much, he ended up marrying a Croatian woman. So Luka is half Croatian. We'll claim him as one of ours, yeah.
We always do.
We of course we always do. That's right. Yeah. Now before we wrap up the completely wrap up the Australian Croatian scene, just today Melbourne Croatia Juniors announced that the Pro will be back in 2022. That will be held on Saturday, the 3rd of September, and that will be involving all of Victoria's Croatian clubs that have got junior teams. So unfortunately, Bunkhead and Gorspic Bears and St Albans Vukovar won't be able to partake unless they can pass for a 12-year-old, which I'm not too sure.
Some of the dummy spits I've seen at tournaments
possibly.
resemble 3-year-olds.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is, I think, under 8s all the way through to under 13s. Obviously, the Metro teams won't be participating. I think their season's still happening. But basically, it's the Mini Roos and the community team. So this is fantastic. Mark this down in your diaries. Saturday, 3rd September at Knight Stadium. And gosh, for the littlies, wouldn't it be a thrill just to run out onto the main pitch, in front of the...
You know who that day's made for? That day's made for the kids and the grandparents.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't know who loves it more.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're going to take a very, very short break. When we return, it's the Croatian scene. Lots happening over there. We're going to look at it from an Australian perspective, Australian-Croatian perspective. Then, don't go away, folks, because later tonight, we're going to be speaking with the Sydney United coach, MIRO VLASTELICA. He's joining us despite being feeling a little off colour, so we really appreciate him coming on the show. As a result, Joe Chaleta, who was going to be on the show, the assistant coach, he's taking training tonight, so he won't be able to join us, not to worry. Looking forward to that, so we won't be too long with that. We'll be back with the Croatian Roundup. Welcome back to the Oz Cro Soccer Show. Time for the roundup, the Croatian roundup or the overseas roundup. Now, Josipe, you know us Croatians. We love to always get one over our, eternal rivals. And we're not talking about South Melbourne Hellas or Sydney Olympic at the moment. We're talking about those ones a little bit to the east of the border. Yeah. On just the other day, well, when was it? 3 days ago, it was the 25th anniversary of that famous victory. They were known as NK Croatia then, but really Dinamo Zagreb in drag. On the 30th of July, 1997, 25 years ago, Dinamo defeated Partizan 5-0. Now, that up in the top left-hand corner, that's actually a mural that is somewhere in Zagreb. And the scorers have been, carved out bronzed up for all to see. And yes, there in the 24th minute, our very own Mark Viduka was in that. Now, there was during the week, I heard, you get all that nostalgia on social media and what you're not popping up. And someone actually said, I don't know if it was Ciro Blažević or if it was someone else at the time, said they're standing in the tunnel, crowd going
That
ballistic.
was Silvio Martic. That was his.
Silvio Martic, was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a great little story. I can't remember the exact details.
So the story goes like this: Oni su bili blijedi. They were white like rags,
We're talking about the Partizan players.
Yeah, they were standing in the players' tunnel, looking down at their boots because they knew what was waiting for them because Dinamo was going to be champions anyway, right? And as they were coming out, Silvio Martic started going at him, and sort of like trying to scare him up a little bit. And then trotting down behind, he was always one of the last ones to come out. And as he came out, he went, Viduka come up to all the players, up to their faces, and just bellowed at them.
It worked. It put them off their game. And 5-0, it is regarded as one of the most memorable soccer matches since Croatia's independence. And boy, have we had some unbelievable games as well, certainly at club level. All right, moving to the modern day and what has been happening over the weekend. Round 3 was held in the Hrvatska Nogometna Liga, the Croatian Soccer League. Šibenik defeated Lokomotiva 2-1. Varaždin lost to Hajduk Split. We're going to talk about Varaždin. They are really a breath of fresh air. And look, they took it up to Hajduk. The most impressive Varaždin player, Tonio Teklic, who is recently, he's been the last few years, he's been in Varaždin on loan from Hajduk Split, but he's now been transferred out and out to Hajduk, and he was just a midfield maestro. But speaking of maestros, Livaja, mate, they bagged him because recently, about a week or so ago, Marko Livaja participated in the Torcida Cup, which is basically an outdoor futsal competition tournament, whatever. Summer sevens or summer fives or whatever you want to call it. And, he's being bagged by sections of the Croatian press and other supporters as well. And they say, what sort of a professional club is Hajduk allowing their professionals to be playing, with supporters? What if they get injured and this and that, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Hajduk doesn't have a problem because obviously he is like the Gary Ablett of Hajduk Split, Marko Livaja. And lo and behold, against Varaždin, he scored a goal that was just very futsal-esque. He's turned on a sixpence. He's back to the goal. Unbelievable goal that only he could score. It was the first goal. And it was, like I said, malo nogometni goal, as they say. It was just an incredible goal.
Tonči, how many goals does he have to score in order to get placed as a regular starter for the Croatian lineup?
Yeah, good question. That is a good question. But look, Varaždin, hometown of, the Croatian hometown of Zlatko Dalic. I think Dalic's son is actually involved as the football director or sports director at Varaždin. So I'm sure Zlatko Dalic would have been there. Remember, Zlatko Dalic, he did play for Hajduk as well. So I'm sure he would have been there at the ground amongst the 7,000 people that were there and would have been taking that into account. Yeah, it's just, look, love him, love Hajduk or hate Hajduk. There is no doubt that Marko Livaja is just an absolute magician. And he's in the prime of his career. So you're right. Josip, how long much more? Dinamo Zagreb, they are blitzing it. They destroyed Istra at the Maksimir 4-1. They 3 wins, 3 games, 3 wins. They're invincible up at the top of the competition standings. Rijeka and Gorica had a 1-1 draw. Now, most important for us, Gorica's goal was scored by none other than our Oz Cro Anthony Karlik. Well done, Anthony. And Slaven Belupo not doing too well also there. They're in a bit of a doldrum.
Bit of trouble stirring over at Osijek, and Bjelica getting a lot of tirades from the fans.
Oh, yeah. Actually, speaking of which, Kohorta, basically, they've just said, their number one, their mission statement, if you like, for this season is to see Bjelica leave. Under no circumstances is he to remain. They've declared war on him. And, when your own fans declare war on you, it's not a pretty thing. But Bjelica has said, just like Dan Andrews, he's taken all the accountability. Yep, the buck stops with me, he says. Yeah.
Did Bjelica say follow the science?
He probably did. I don't know. Oh well, he's got his own chorba or whatever it is. I don't know, but it's not looking good in Osijek at the moment. They need to do something quick, smart to get back into I guess into a better position. Let's have a look at the ladder very, very quickly. As we said, Dinamo on top, 9 points. Hajduk, they've got a game in hand. They're on 6 points. Rijeka also game in hand on 4. And then Osijek out of the top 4, or in 4th position out of the top 3 for the first time in a long, long time. Šibenik have started well, as have Slaven Belupo. 1 win, 1 draw, and 1 loss. Lokomotiva, Varaždin, and Gorica all have opened their account, but Gorica, Istra yet to open their account. Yeah. Now, if we look at the fixtures this week, there's a couple of there's one postponed game. Hajduk, second game that they've postponed, and we'll talk about that in shortly, why that's the case. But Varaždin take on Dinamo Zagreb. Now, we can expect another bumper crowd for this one. Look at the crowd figure. Look at the crowd. Look at the grandstands there for the first game against Hajduk just gone by. 7,000. There was just under 7,000, 6,940, whatever. But count all the ball boys, the officials, and the security. I'm sure they would have had well over 7,000. They're expecting a similar crowd against Dinamo this Friday night. Apparently, the Western stand, which is that main stand, is already sold out. So, are they not a breath of fresh air in the Croatian league this year, Varaždin?
Yeah. Oh, we knew about it throughout their last season as we talked about them, and it's good to see that they're continuing in that vein.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we go through the fixtures, as we said, Varaždin hosting Dinamo Zagreb, 4 o'clock our time on Saturday morning. On Sunday, Slaven Belupo take on Šibenik. This should be a really good game, a close game. Both teams have started reasonably well. That's at 2:55 a.m. Hajduk and Gorica, that's Hajduk's now second postponed game, and then they've got another postponed game in round 5 with Dinamo, so they'll have all these postponed games at the moment. It's Istra, typo there. They host NK Osijek, the wounded NK Osijek, coming up against the bottom side. That's Monday morning at 5 o'clock, and then Lokomotiva hosting Rijeka. That should be a tough one as well. That's now. Before we do move over to BiH, let's have a look at so Aussies in Croatia. We already mentioned Anthony Kulik. He's been proclaimed the man of the match in that Gorica game. But our old friend Željko Kalac on the left-hand side there.
Is he recruiting?
He looks like he is recruiting. Urania Baška Voda this week announced that he will be taking the helm of the club again this next season, and he's already started recruiting. I don't know who any of those blokes are. Are they just mates, or are they actually assistant coaches? Or what?
You know what it's like. As soon as you tell people you're the head coach of a club, everyone lines up and wants a gig.
Yeah. Tony Chavar, Ante Grabovac, any of our Sydney folks that are listening, if you do know any of those folks, are they actually coaches or are they just mates? Do we know who they are? Because it says, if you don't understand Croatian, it says, as you can see from the photograph, the coach is already starting to assemble his team for next week, and we will talk shortly. We will mention shortly who those recruits are. Now, whether we're talking about his coaching assistant coaches, or I don't know. But this will be really interesting, Josip, because he'll now have a full season, a full pre-season to organise himself. He understands the culture, knows the climate, knows the league very, very well. And, he'll be able to, his famous saying, Svi znaju, a nemaju pojma.
Nema pojma.
He'll be able to combat that.
You know, it'll be interesting now. After Spider's affirmation throughout our interview with him a couple of months back, young Australians that are looking for a pathway to Europe.
Yes.
Right? He was quite adamant that if anyone's looking to break out of that NPL mold and wants to test themselves in a group like the third tier of the Croatian leagues, he's open to it. So I think that it may open up that door a bit further for young players looking for that opportunity.
That's a really good point, actually, and it will be interesting to see that. And especially, as you said, Anthony Kalik is doing really well at Gorica. I wouldn't be surprised if he either gets snapped up by Hajduk again next year or Dinamo, being an ex-Hajduk player, or Osijek Rijeka, one of the big four. Deni Juric is on loan at the moment at Gorica. Look, they've started well. I don't think he's scored. I'm not too sure. But look, they're doing really, really well. And we do know of a lot of younger Australian Croatians in the second, third, fourth division at the moment over there trying their luck. So that's a really, really good point. So we're certainly going to be looking forward to that. Yeah. All right. We want to move along very quickly because we want to speak to MIRO VLASTELICA from Sydney United. But here are the round 3 results from BiH. Zrinjski opened their season with their first win against Leotard. Good 4-1 win there. We also had
a 1-1 draw there.
Široki with the draw there. They're doing really well with Željezničar in Sarajevo. A really tough one.
That's a tough one always. That's tough. Strong. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then Posuše went down to Borac Banja Luka. There's a couple of games there coming up next week. Sarajevo hosting Posuše. That's going to be a tough one. Zrinjski have had their game against Sloga Doboj postponed because of the fact that they'll be involved in European Cup action. And Široki Brijeg are at home to Leotard. But if you will take a look at the ladder, yes, Zrinjski are not on top, but another Croatian club is Široki Brijeg. Well done, Široko Briježani. 2 wins, 1 draw. They're undefeated at the top with 7 points. But Sarajevo, they've won 2 games from 2 matches. They're sitting in second spot. Zrinjski in 6th. They've got a game in hand. And Posuše also have got a game in hand there in 8th. So the Croatian clubs doing relatively well in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And finally, last but not least, the 2 remaining Croatian clubs in the European competitions. Unfortunately, we had Osijek lose to Kizilazar. I don't know, they're a Kazakhstan club. And Rijeka lost to Swedish side Djurgården last week in the European Conference League. Hajduk makes its debut in the European Conference League. That's going to be this Friday morning. They're coming up against Vitória from Portugal. That kicks off at 5 a.m. Friday morning, our time. But tomorrow morning, the big one between Ludogorets and Dinamo, the first leg, that kicks off at 3:45 a.m. So all you Dinamo supporters, make sure to go to bed really, really early tonight and get up for that one. That's going to be a very, very big one. And Hajduk might be they might be blessed by having a Nigerian international. He's a stopper, Chidozie Wazim, who just signed on the line today or yesterday, our time. He's the new centre back at Hajduk. He's already had 1 training session, and that has kind of been a little bit of a problem spot for Hajduk. And he may be rushed into the team on Friday morning. So apparently tickets have been selling like absolute crazy. More than 25,000 tickets have already been sold.
Atmosphere. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Plus with the weather the way it's been, everyone will be out.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And another thing is Hajduk broke a record, a long-standing record, 9,600. This is about 24 hours ago, so that's probably changed. 9,600 season ticket holders, along with their 79,000 plus members. So incredible stuff there. There he is. There's Chidozie Awazim. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Keep an eye out for that guy.
Yep.
Mate, we're gonna.
Let's also mention that Zrinjski is playing on Friday morning.
Oh yes, absolutely.
From Kazakhstan. So thanks,
Jure. That's a 5 a.m. as well.
Thanks, Jure Dragovic, for propping that up. Good work, mate. Nice to see our fans.
Conference
keeping
League
us on our toes as well.
Yeah, Tobol from Kazakhstan, 5 a.m. Friday morning, also in the Conference League. So we're wishing them all the very, very best. We're going to take a very, very short break. When we return, finally, we're going to be speaking to the very, very patient MIRO VLASTELICA, who has been in the green room drinking lots of hot tea and keeping himself warm. And rakia, absolutely. That's the trick that solves all illnesses. We'll be back very, very shortly with the coach of Sydney United.
Welcome back to the Oz Cro Soccer Show. Tonight, joining us for a quick chat and a promo and introduction to the upcoming Australia Cup round of 32 match is the head coach of Sydney United. Welcome to the show, Miro. Just check his audio there, Tonchi.
Yeah, looks like Miro, you might have something in your settings. You might need to change your settings to your microphone settings. We just are not able to hear you. Yeah, we had this problem last night on the Geelong Region Soccer Show, and it usually means it's the problem there is it's the settings. So, Miro, if you can hear us, go in your settings and you might have to change your microphone there as well. Just make sure there's a little starburst there as well, and hopefully we'll be able to get you on. We'll keep you on there, and if you can hear us, join on. Now we're going to be quickly looking at the Sydney United tomorrow are taking part in the Australia Cup round of 32. And the promotion for this has been absolutely fantastic. It's been great to see. There's been a lot of on Football New South Wales, Football Australia's Australia Cup as well, and obviously here tonight as well. But it's good to see that Sydney United returning back to the national stage. Josip, there's Miro's son, who's the captain, Adrian Vlastelica, and he's been heavily involved in the promotion of this. How do you see tomorrow's game going, Josip?
Look, basing it on what I've been watching in results-wise from the Capital Premier NPL as well as the New South Wales NPL, it's going to be a close game. Monaro has been a little inconsistent at times, and so too is Sydney United. The level of competition in the capital football wouldn't be as intense and as furious as it would be in the New South Wales NPL. So I think, if anything, the closing stages of the year and the way Sydney United has carried out their form, particularly in that semi-final against Bonnyrigg, they'll get the edge over Monaro, just purely on that factor plus playing at home.
Well, it's one of the few all federation. I think they're calling it the all federation derbies. So look, it's going to be at least one of the teams is going to progress, and then hopefully, well, maybe in the round of 16 they may come up against A-League opposition. It'd be great to have that hosted at Sydney United's ground. Now, what I'm really impressed, Sydney United have got this. They've got their own merchandise room or merchandise store. That looks like something out of a European club. It is absolutely brilliant. Obviously, there at the Edensor Park Stadium, at the Croatian Sports Centre. That's just absolutely fantastic. It will be open from 6:30 p.m. tomorrow night. So get on there early. You're able to get yourself all sorts of scarves, caps, other merchandise, bucket hats, jackets, T-shirts, umbrellas, and that would be absolutely
everything you need to make the grandstand nice and colourful and loud, and make it really uncomfortable for Monaro on their visit tomorrow night.
Oh, looks like we might have Miro on the
Miro. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you there, guys?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Great to have you there. Yeah, well, let's bring you back on. Finally managed to get a hold of that. Miro, first of all, thank you for joining us here. I noticed you had a little bit of a cough there. Not feeling the best, but will you be okay for tomorrow or will Joe Chalita have to do all the instructing from the sidelines?
Oh, look, hopefully I can pull through, guys, and yeah, should be there.
That's all right. Good to see.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. Look, in lead up to tonight's show, obviously looking at form guide and all that sort of stuff, there's some real important news that I found out today, and I'd like to know the story behind it. Why do they call you Staffy?
I'd love to know where all this information comes from. When I see you at the tourney, I'll let you guys know.
Okay.
What's that is? Oh, okay.
One can only assume, one can only speculate, but Miro, it sounds like a very, very, very assertive type of a nickname. But anyway, how is the
Yeah,
team?
I never like getting beat as a defender. So
Okay, we'll leave it that way.
yeah.
How about
Speaking
you,
of not
Tunchi?
not liking to getting beaten or whatever. Geez, the words aren't really coming out tonight. Tomorrow, we don't want to see Sydney United beaten. We want to see Sydney United progress through to the next round. What have you guys been doing to prepare for this? Have you prepared for it in any special way, any different way? I mean, it is a return back to the national stage for Sydney, Croatia.
Oh, look, it's been business as usual for us. We had a game on the weekend, got a good result there against Apia, and I think from our previous discussion a month or so back, it was about just managing the boys that I had coming back from injury, and that's what we've done. We're pretty much back to a full strength squad.
That's exciting.
So yeah, but not much has changed. We're just, we've done a bit of homework on them. So hopefully all goes to plan. Yeah.
Oh, good to see. and just around the club and feedback from committee and even maybe from the King Tom catering, are you expecting a good crowd to come out in your way?
Yeah, I think like all reports are that there will be a decent turnout. Everyone's buzzing around the place. I was up there yesterday and earlier through the day today as well. There's a lot of people around the place, putting the hard yards in to get the place ready for tomorrow. So it should be exciting.
Good stuff.
Now,
Just looking at one of the comments from Ante Grabovac is posted up in our chat here, talking about the last time Sydney Croatia played Monaro. There was a 2-0 win at King Tom Stadium with around about 5,000 in attendance, with goals to Ajakov and Patikas. And also later on that year at Bruce Stadium, they beat them 4-0. Wally Shoveled was a scorer back then. That's sending me back a little bit.
What a great era that was! What a great era that was.
The mid-80s, eh? That was the first foray into the NSL Tonch, 84.
Yeah, Dragicevic, Ojakov, Žarko Ojakov. I mean, man.
What a player!
What a player that was, and Shane Clinch, Petkovic, Ivan Petkovic. Oh mate, the glory days, and we'd love to see the glory days one day come back to Edensor Park, and I guess it starts tomorrow. But we're on the same wavelength, Josip. I was going to mention that Ante Grabovac, by the way, a former ground announcer there at Sydney United, and also was a media man back in the NSL days. So in 1985, there we go. We had 4,738 turn up to watch Sydney Croatia take on into Monaro. And then a year later, 5,689. I'm putting a challenge out there to all the wider Sydney Croatian community and supporters. Turn up in droves, in mass droves tomorrow. Let's try and eclipse that 5,600 figure tomorrow night. Wouldn't that be good, Miro?
Oh, jeez.
It'd be brilliant. Like the players would be absolutely buzzing. Yeah.
I'm sure they'll respond to the call as well.
And I reckon the Monaro players in the players' race, they'll be just as scared as the Partizan Belgrade players were when they were getting to the Maksimir 30.
There we go. Which one of your players? Which one of your players is going to do the Paducah?
I reckon it might be Vlastelica Jr. I reckon
possibly.
Who's the loudest in the dressing room? Who is the one that G's up everyone when it comes to a big game or anything like that? Big derby game. Who's the one that really gets them all pumped?
Oh, look, there's quite a few senior boys there. Like they all really lift each other. Like, one starts and it's just like a dominoes effect. It's just, I can't say one. You got your Adrian, you got Trefiro, Tomalic. Fregianas, there's a lot of boys there that really get them going just before they walk out in that tunnel.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, one thing that I've noticed in the last few weeks, Miro, is the ability to score. Even when the results haven't come your way in the last, say, 5 or 6 weeks, the ability to score has remained. Is that something that has been a particular focus? I know that you were missing players and they've been filtering back in slowly week by week. Has that been a main focus to try and solidify how we finish our chances?
Oh, definitely. And like each game we play, like, Joe and I will sit down and then you just look back and you like the amount of chances we create and should be putting away and we don't. It just blows you away. But yeah, we do. That's the they don't give up, this group. It's they don't care what's in front of them, and they just keep playing and fighting. So that's something that it's a massive positive with the group. Like, we know they're not just going to throw the towel in. That ain't going to happen. And yeah, you throw it. Look, you go back to the Bonnyrigg game, like 2-0 down, and
impressive.
People were writing us off. Like, there wasn't many in the terraces. There was a few officials from Bonnyrigg, and a few things were said towards us. But in the end, it's the boys didn't stop, and we had the last laugh. Like, they put their heads down and they just keep playing, and we can score goals. Like, we've got quality strikers there with tons of experience.
We were actually watching that game, Tonchi, whilst we were broadcasting. So
yeah, that's
it was one of those unusual nights where we're trying to update what's going on around the country, and then watching the game on the side as well. So.
Yeah.
Now, Miro, on another note, I guess on one of our sister podcasts, the Football Outwear Show, on Sunday night had the Caroline Springs George Cross president, the Preston Lions president, and the South Melbourne president, and all three of them were quite adamant that the National Second Division is going to go ahead. And it will happen. It will happen very shortly. Maybe not in the way we'd like it. Maybe next year. Maybe so. It really depends on a lot of figures. But these are clubs that are, once upon a time graced the National Soccer League, and they firmly believe that a National Second Division is going to become a reality in the not too distant future. As coach of Sydney United, Sydney Croatia, certainly, in our opinion, the biggest club in New South Wales and one of the biggest clubs outside of the A-League in Australia. The prospect of a National Second Division for your club, Sydney Croatia, is that something that really excites you, or is there a little bit of kind of trepidation about what a National Second Division may entail, especially with all the costs, et cetera, et cetera?
Oh, look, it does excite everyone, but yeah, like you just said, costs. We have to be realistic as well. It's not cheap to travel interstate. It's not cheap to travel across over to Perth and put up maybe 23, 24 people overnight. But we're lucky at Sydney United, and most of us Croatian clubs around the country are lucky that we've got sponsors that love our clubs and love the community and do put in. And without them, it probably wouldn't come to fruition. But is everyone excited about it? 100% they are. Like, I even hear the players now, they chat about it because the rumours are already flying around. I don't think it'll be easy at the start. Just the logistics of everything. And then, if you are away for the weekend from the family, you're doing a lot of traveling. That's difficult for some, especially the older players. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then it comes to you've got to get a good balance where maybe you start bringing in some more of these younger kids, and it almost, how can I say it? It's not that it becomes a development league, but it gives more opportunity to younger kids like what they had in the past.
Yeah.
With your Sydney Croatias, with your Melbourne Knights, your Canberras. It puts them on the national stage again. And that's what we need. And, at United, I know they want to do that. But it's just getting that balance and making it work is going to be the challenge, I think. And yeah, like obviously the money will be, but I'm confident that if it does come on, that there'll be people jumping to help out.
Fantastic. That is awesome.
I was going to say, speaking of opportunities for young players, young Nicholas Zdrilic, I see in some footage he's been overseas. I think he's training it, or has he done any kind of signing that you know of with Hajduk?
Oh, look, he flew out a few weeks ago. I know he went up into Zagreb, and yeah, then he spent some time down at Hajduk. There was some talk that they did offer him something. I don't know how far that's progressed. But obviously he's back in. in Myanmar or with the
Yeah,
Joey
the
squad.
Joeys. Yeah,
So yeah, he's in camp down there. But yeah, there's definitely something there. But yeah, like I said, I haven't spoken to him or his dad, so that's something that I can't confirm at this stage. But look,
Yeah.
hopefully it does come out for him, and he does get that opportunity to be brilliant.
Yeah. Do we know if he's played any minutes tonight in that game?
I'm not too sure.
Yeah,
I'm not too sure, guys.
There was no video that I could find live feed
No.
anyway, which surprise
No.
for Australia.
Yeah. Yeah. Miro, I wanted to talk about the merch store. Look at that. This is something that Sydney United posted up earlier today. Newly renovated. So obviously it looks, and I said to Josip earlier in the show, this is something reminiscent of a European club, a big European club having a designated merchandising store. That is absolutely brilliant. The club obviously is doing a lot of work off the field as well as obviously what's happening on the field. Tell us about the merchandise store and tell us about some of the things that are going on, maybe behind the scenes that we're not really familiar with, that you're allowed to talk about.
As you can see, like that store's absolutely brilliant. Like you can walk in and bring the kids in there and absolutely purchase anything you like. I believe they even do like names and numbers on the back of your jerseys if you like.
Yeah, what's that?
Brilliant.
There's absolutely everything you can imagine: umbrellas, keyrings. Obviously the kits. And then they've done a great job with it. So. And then like around the ground, back on the other side in the grandstand, they've got the Club 5000, which is undergoing a major renovation, where they want to put in some catering facilities and a bar, and so during a match or post match you can sit down, have a meal, and
fantastic.
So they're working on that, and I think a part of the stadium's actually, but you'll probably see it tomorrow night, has been demolished. There was, I shouldn't say the stadium, the seating in front of the stadium was taken out.
I actually saw that footage at some point a few weeks back where they were ripping some seats out.
Yeah, seats, and then now it's basically been excavated down to sort of ground level, sort of tunnel level. They had some issues with some retaining walls which have been sorted out, but that's now all going to get redone, and I think they're going to have like a outdoor terrace. And below that, they'll have storage facilities, and they might be extending the home change room with the new gym and other bits and pieces. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes.
Wow, fantastic! That's great to see. Well, the only thing left to say is we want tomorrow night at Edensor Park, the stadium itself to look just like it did in Varaždin. The crowd there was 7,000. If we can get 7,000 to Sydney tomorrow, that will be absolutely fantastic. Mate, wishing you all the very, very best. Personally as well, get over this little lurgy and make sure that you're going to be able to be there tomorrow night, but also to Sydney United and to everyone associated with Sydney United. I think the entire Australian Croatian community is absolutely behind you guys tomorrow night. So, yes, it's the weight of a nation or the weight of a nationality. But, wishing you all the very, very best for tomorrow's game against Monaro.
Thanks, guys. And I'd just like to say, if we can get as many of our local community down there, it'll be brilliant. I said, I mentioned it a month ago on the show that we need that 12th man at times, make it difficult for the opposition. So we definitely will on the park, but it'd be good if we got them in the terraces as well.
That's right. Make it uncomfortable for Monaro, and we wish you all the best. We'll be watching with bated breath from the sidelines, mate. And we look forward to a win.
Thanks very much for having me.
Good on you. MIRO VLASTELICA, the coach of Sydney United. And, mate, that brings us to the end of the show. Before we go, obviously, we're just one last urge, plea, if you like, for sponsors. We are looking for sponsors. We'd love to be able to go all the way through to the World Cup, the Qatar World Cup. Is what 4 months, 4 months, 3
and a bit.
3 months. What am I talking about? Before
November,
you know, we're going to be there. Incredible! It's going to be there very, very shortly. So not much longer to go. But get in touch with either Josip or myself, or I'll pop that slide up again. Send us an email, Oz Cro Soccer Show @gmail.com. We'd love to hear from your club, and we'd love to hear from your business. So thank you. And on that note, Josip, what awaits you this weekend? Anything exciting?
Oh, look, Friday night, Derby night, Gold Coast Knights v Gold Coast United. We need to pick up in form from the last couple of games out, so we're looking forward to seeing some excitement there. And the juniors are out playing at home against Brisbane Strikers, which is always a tough one for the Gold Coast Knights juniors. So that will consume me for the weekend.
There you go. Well, lots happening down in Victoria as well. And from now until then, it's just football, the way we love it. Folks, on that note, thank you very much for being a part of tonight's show. Next week, we will be back to our usual time of a Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. In the meantime, make sure tomorrow to tune in to the Australia Cup round of 32 clash between Sydney United and the Monaro Panthers. And if you're in Sydney, make sure to get yourself down there for some absolute quality midweek football. Good night. Laku noć.
Laku noć.
Thank you.